Welcome to today's Global Connections program. I'm Bill Miller. What is the YMCA? What is the YMCA doing to strengthen individuals, families, and communities, both in the United States and in 123 other countries around the world? We'll be back in just a moment to talk about these and other important issues. Welcome back to our program. You're watching Global Connections Television, which is an independently produced program. The opinions expressed on Global Connections are solely those of the moderator and his guests. Today we're looking at a really interesting organization, one that has quite an international reach, the YMCA. My guest today is an expert on the Y. My guest today is Mr. Dave Steele. Mr. Dave Steele is the CEO, Executive Director of the Frankfort, Kentucky YMCA in the United States. He has a BA in Urban Recreation and Parks Administration. He's also a YMCA Senior Director. Dave Steele, welcome to today's Global Connections program.
Thanks, Bill. Always good to see you.
I appreciate you being with me, Dave. Let's start off at the top. What is the YMCA? When was it started? Why was it started? Where was it started?
It was started in London, England in 1844, and it was founded by George Williams, who actually was a young man from the country, coming from the farm into the industrialized city of London, and he found himself in a situation where he was basically he wanted to found an organization that would help kids and young adults stay out of the temptations that the city was beginning to present to people in his same situation. So it was. It started as a Bible study group. It quickly grew to into educational programs and became quickly replicated and modeled in different communities in England. And basically, in about 7 years later, Captain Thomas Sullivan, who was a seafaring captain from Boston, became quite enamored with what the YMCA was doing in England and now in other parts of Europe. And he helped to found the first YMCA in the United States in Boston in 1851. So in the United States, we're now 162 years old.
And of course, at that time, we don't remember because we weren't there, but that was during the heyday of the Industrial Revolution. Remember, the cities were really challenging places to live. There was terrible air pollution. There were no child labor laws at that time to speak of. It was almost like an urban jungle where you had to try to survive. And there was a real need for a social institution like a Y or some other group to provide assistance to people who lived in some pretty tough conditions. Now, you brought a little overview. We got a 60-second overview of the YMCA. Let's take a look at that,
Sure.
And we'll come back and talk about it in just a minute.
Okay.
Because play might be the best way to fight obesity.
Because staying connected makes my family stronger, healthier, and happier.
Because a safe place after school can lead to success in school.
Because physical activity is vital to my health and well-being.
Because I need to make my world better.
Because playing team sports teaches the character and social skills that build leaders.
Because learning with others makes for a greater understanding.
Because we need each other.
Because we need each other.
Because we need each other.
Dave, I think that gives us a good overview of the YMCA and what it's about. Now, you mentioned earlier that it was basically set up to bring people in to discuss the Bible, to read the Bible, and that type of thing. But now today it has changed quite a bit. Is it not? It's open to anyone, regardless of gender, income, race, sexual orientation, cultural background, whatever the case might be. Is that correct?
That is correct, and it's to provide programs in a Christian environment that help build a strong spirit, mind, and body for all. And for all is really the key to that our mission statement in the YMCA. So we're very active in our local communities. Every YMCA is different. We're all autonomous. We all have our own governing bodies, even though we have a national organizational structure for resources and guidance and best practices. Every YMCA association throughout the United States and indeed throughout the world is autonomous and self-governed. However, we go through annual certification processes to make sure that we're still doing things in the YMCA way. So we have a number of standards that we must meet every year in order for us to keep our charter.
Exactly. And if our viewers would like more information, they can go to www.ymca.net and get a lot more information. Well, you've got a lot of international activities and local too. We're going to try to touch upon some of them. We won't get to all of them, but start off with just a few. There's one part of the YMCA is called the World Alliance of YMCAs. And in 1947, this alliance, 2 years after the United Nations was formed, got consultative status with ECOSOC, the Economic and Social Council of the UN, which is one of the 6 organs, which is really very prestigious and allows the Y to have input into discussions at ECOSOC, and their opinion obviously is very well valued, but that's a very prestigious situation. Another thing that you have is the Global Centers of Excellence. What are the Global Centers of Excellence?
Well, all YMCAs can become global centers of excellence, and it's merely taking a global approach to our local operations so that we're tapping into worldwide resources. We're recognizing the change of our local communities. Some statistics, related to what our communities are looking like right now. By 2050, the Asian population will triple in the United States. 1 of every 5 children going into preschool right now are from parents that were not born in the United States. There's so many things that are rapidly changing our local communities that we as a YMCA, as a community-based organization, we look for every opportunity to engage immigrant groups, transient groups, groups that have relocated because of war, they're refugees. So you end up with different populations in different cities. Houston, Texas is one of the major immigrant centers of the world right now, and some of the international programs out of the Houston, Texas YMCA are just terrific models for all of us to try to copy.
Right. Now, one thing we were talking about before the program was the World Service Campaign, and this is a major operation. You've got a brochure over there that highlights several. Could you just give me
the World Service Campaign
is
really a campaign within our own YMCAs here in the United States, and it raises $1 million, $1.5 million a year, and then smaller YMCAs around the world will apply for grants through the YMCA of the USA, which is our national governing body here. And so every year there's last year there was grants given to the Cambodia YMCA, where there's, really to focus on street children, to give them safe places to learn, to grow, to become better educated. In Russia, there's programs to educate more teens on HIV prevention, on positive lifestyle choices. In Haiti, again, responding to the disaster from, 4 or 5 years ago now, the earthquakes in Haiti.
2010.
2010. The YMCA in Haiti has a huge presence, working with orphans, other vulnerable populations, accessing medical care. There's tutoring, there's education, there's sports programs that are going on. There's libraries that have been built through the Haitian YMCA. So it's Our World Service campaign, it's important to all of us in the Y movement because we all give to it freely as individuals and as associations. And again, every year we can, through that program, we can help 40 or 50 YMCAs through a grant process that makes a big difference to those YMCAs around the world. And again, we're in 124 countries around the world. There's 45 million members of the YMCA. About 21 million of those are here in the United States, but the other 24 million are spread out around over 120 countries.
That is a huge international organization, quite an international reach. Well, I remember seeing video, excuse me, of the assistance that the Y provided in Banda Aceh back, I think it was 2005, when they had that devastating tsunami that just leveled large parts of that area, not only Banda Aceh, but other parts in the neighborhood. But also in 2011, when there was that awful earthquake and then tsunami in Japan. Now, Indonesia and those countries are developing countries, but Japan is a developed country, has a very strong economy. But still, at that time, the Y did come in and help to get people back on track. We've got a short video clip that will show what was done in order to help a strawberry farmer to rebuild and to get his business back online. Let's take a look at that and we'll come back and talk about it.
Okay.
Here were a lot of strawberry farms. Yamamoto Town, Miyagi Prefecture. The town was devastated by several big tsunamis. Greenhouses were destroyed, and the farms were covered by debris and mud. And strawberry seedlings were all washed away.
いや涙も出なかったですね。どうしたらいいか、これからどうしたらいいかなと思って、もう唖然として呆然と眺めていただきですね。最初は諦めたんですよね。もう一文作りやめようかなと思ったんですけど。
Everything, even dreams and hope, were washed away with the strawberry farm. Many YMCA volunteers helped the strawberry farm to remove the debris and mud. They also rebuilt the greenhouses. The farmers were encouraged by the YMCA volunteers. Even though everything was gone, their future is still here. Finally, they were determined to rebuild the strawberry farm.
誰が最初やれば後で続いてくれって思ったのね。
そうなってくるとやっぱりこういうボランティアの手って、
助かります。全部ねボランティアさんの方々がこうヘドロの撤去とかねやってくれたんですよね。全国の YMCA 家族だけではどうしようもないですよね。
Yamamoto Town, also known as the Strawberry Town, made a big step towards rehabilitation. Volunteers came from all over Japan and from overseas.
Dave, that was an interesting overview or a little update on trying to help this fellow to really regain his economic livelihood. And so often I think that when there are disasters, people naturally turn to governments for help, they turn to other groups, but they can also turn to international organizations such as the Y or to UN agencies or different groups like that to come in and try to help get the economic engine going. It is extremely important to get the economy functioning again, especially after a disaster, is it not? And
again, the Y is a great response because we're already there locally. So a lot of what you just saw in the strawberry farm in Japan, a lot of those were young people from the YMCA's in Japan, which is a tremendous movement in its own. But then there were other young people that had come on almost a missionary type of a trip to assist with that. So our local YMCAs and other YMCAs around the world are creating those opportunities for a young person or an adult to go ahead and get involved in a specific project like that, similar to what we do in Rotary, Bill.
Exactly, yeah. Right, exactly. Well, we were looking at the economic assistance, but let's go a little further into that video that you provided and take a look at a program that they were doing for children, a fun program, and we'll come back and talk about that in just a moment. Let's take a look at this, and we'll be right back.
The Sendai YMCA staff found out that there were children who had many restrictions at the evacuation centers when they delivered relief supplies. The children are the pupils of Nobiru Elementary School, Higashimatsushima City, in Miyagi Prefecture. The disaster, the loss of family and friends, and life at the evacuation centers made the children feel nervous and stressed. We wanted to cheer the children up. In hopes to do so, YMCA started Ganbaro Nobiru Ko for the children in Nobiru to help them find security and happiness during the stressful time. Day camps, craft programs for the children and parents, study sessions, and recreation activities have been held regularly.
Dave, that I think shows the other side. So often we think about the adults when these humanitarian disaster or the natural disasters strike and they need humanitarian assistance, but the children have been traumatized also. They went through that. They perhaps lost parents, they lost friends, they lost their homes, they lost their pets, whatever the case might be. But so often we don't think about what we can do to help the children. But this group did by putting together this fun program for children to try to help them think about, forget the past to some degree, and think about the present and the future.
And those are good counseling skills that are those leaders in those YMCA's that have been taught, and they're trying to regain some type of normalcy in that child's life, and also provide a nurturing atmosphere for that child, especially those that have lost their parents. So I mean, they're still children; they still need to be nurtured on a daily basis, and the YMCA can become a surrogate parent for some children that are found in that type of situation.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've got, if we could go from the international down to the state level and talk a little bit about some of your international activities in Kentucky. There the Kentucky Y has two major programs that I recall. One is the Kentucky Youth Assembly, which brings together outstanding young people, high school seniors, whatever, high school people, to the state capitol in Frankfort, and they do a mock General Assembly. They elect their leaders and that type of thing. But the other program that you operate, a really phenomenal program, is called KUNA, the Kentucky United Nations Assembly. And this was one that started back in the 70s, as I recall. It's a major program with over 3,500 students, where these students come together and they do a mock United Nations. They elect their Secretary General, they bring together the General Assembly, they represent various countries, they dress up in the native garb of those countries, they do everything, draft resolutions that they would do at the United Nations. How important is this type of program to help students understand, on one hand, the Kentucky General Assembly and the inner workings of government, but also on the other hand, to understand the United Nations and how important it is, how important those issues are and how they impact us in Kentucky or Iowa or in Mexico City or in Tokyo or wherever it might be?
Well, the Kentucky Youth Association, the YMCA Youth Association, which is headquartered here in Frankfort, they've done a tremendous job for 3 or 4 decades now with this program. I know one of their catchphrases that within that program is that democracy must be taught to each generation. And really, without a program such as this, is a kid going to go through their whole childhood and their adolescent years and not have an opportunity to participate in that form of a mock government, a democracy that's active and it's vibrant, like the United Nations is. So just learning the mechanics, learning the how do you actually conduct those meetings, it's vital. And you see so many people, so many young people become incredibly passionate about governments and leadership, and those really are our future leaders. Are coming from programs such as this. It's not the only source, but it does become a vital linchpin in keeping democracy at the forefront. So when they're coming and they're representing other countries, they're researching those countries, they're coming in native dress, they're really representing the issues that are that are pertinent right now in those societies. So it's a tremendous learning opportunity. I have a sister-in-law in Ohio who has works with gifted children in a large school district, and she has been tremendously involved in Model UN for a number of years, and she would just talk on and on and on about the value of such a program.
Mm-hmm. And it's hard to pin down how many there are, but it's been estimated at least 350,000 Model UN students around the world in some capacity. So there are literally hundreds or thousands of these Model UN programs that are taking place. And it's just remarkable when you look at it, how important it is, as you mentioned a minute ago, because what you do is you put yourself in another person's shoes. You see the issues from the other side, so to speak. We, sitting in the United States, we might see it one way, but if you're representing Jordan, or if you're representing Argentina, or representing Uganda, whatever it is, you have a tendency to look at it from the other side and say, this is how some other folks look at it, and maybe we can come together and resolve these issues together, and it's very important to do this. But speaking of CUNA, before we get off of it, it's also a tremendous program. This is one of the largest United Nations Model UN programs in the country. In the U.S., you have 3,500 middle and high school students participating in it, and this is in a state of 4.2 million people in a very sort of a mid-sized to a small state, 42,000 square miles. But it's really quite commendable that the Y has built up this Model UN program to such a degree that it has.
Well, it's from years of having talented staff leadership, involved young staff, the program directors that work with numerous counties and coordinate the programs within the local middle school and high schools. Mm-hmm. So it's the continuity of the staff, continuity of a lot of volunteers that are involved in that program. And really, when you think about the YMCA, it's a volunteer-led organization. There's close to 600,000 volunteers involved in the YMCA in the United States. There's 250,000 staff. And our volunteers lead our governance boards. Our board of directors are all made up of members, and so it's an opportunity for people to have leadership components in their life.
Exactly. Well, Dave, we've gone from the international to the U.S. down to the state. Let's talk about the Frankfort YMCA. What are 2 or 3 of your major programs? Do you have a theme for this year, or do you have an ongoing, consistent theme? What types of services do you try to provide to the community?
Well, really, every YMCA responds to their local community, maybe a little bit differently. Of course, we have a large presence in youth sports activities, our soccer programs, our t-ball, flag football, basketball programs go on, have their seasons throughout the year. Of course, everything that we do now falls under 3 main core competencies, and it's youth development, it's healthy living, and it's social responsibility. So through our membership programs, where we're helping people focus on their health goals, on their own wellness goals for the year, for the rest of their life, we're working with children through senior citizens, our Silver Sneaker program here, which we deliver that program. In the Franklin County community, we have 800 seniors that are involved in that program that are coming to the Y on a regular basis for group exercise programs, and also having full membership at the Y. So it's swim lessons. Of course, everybody, most people in the United States and around the world are going to learn to swim at the Y. So in our lifeguarding classes, our aquatics director does a wonderful job in leading those programs. So it's a number of things. It's our after-school programs, which are very strong, our summer day camp programs. Those are all forms of child care opportunities. We have the Crayon Club, which is a full-day child care center that was constructed and opened in 2007, and has 110 or 112 children in there from basically 7 o'clock in the morning to about 5:30 at night. So we have a tremendously talented staff that work with those children.
And you mentioned child care. It's interesting to note, too, as you mentioned earlier when we were off camera, talking about how the YMCA's around the world, the largest daycare provider one of the largest in the world. But Dave, you've got so many interesting programs. I wish we had more time to focus on them, but our viewers can go to frankfortymca.org and get much more information. But Dave Steele, CEO of the Frankfort Y, I want to thank you so very much for a very interesting and a very informative program.
It's good to see you again.
Good to see you. I'm Bill Miller. Thank you for joining us on today's Global Connections program.